Hi, this is Manjari Biswas and I welcome you all to my channel. Now, this was a stunning makeover. She looked gorgeous in the end and we were all very happy. But if you want to know and if you want to learn how she looked from this to this, then you have to keep watching. And I also want to warn you that this is going to be a fairly long video because I have promised to myself that I would be showing you all the steps that I have taken in order to achieve a look that is just so flawless. So without any further ado, let's keep watching. Now, unlike my usual way of doing where I do the face first and then do the eyes, here I decided to do the eyes first and I'm straight away moving on to the eyebrows. I'm filling her eyebrows and at the same time I'm also reshaping her eyebrows just to give it a little height and a little arch, because if you have noticed, her eyebrows were rather thin and they were not equal, they were not even. So I'm also trying to even out both the eyebrows so that it looks nice. And as always, I'm doing it with a black shade, but this time instead of a black gel liner, I decided to do with a black eyeshadow. So with the eyeshadow, first you draw a line underneath, then you draw a line on over the eyebrows, and then you merge it and make the arch. It's as simple as that. Now once you're happy with the shape and the way you've drawn the eyebrows, you can move on to the setting of the eyebrows. Here I'm using a dried mascara wand, but in the color dark brown. I thought I will give it some bristles and some strokes and strands of hair here and there, but it didn't show up because the mascara had dried up. And you can use as the eyelid primer, you can use any concealer that you have. Here I used Kevin Coyne for the first time on her eyes, but honestly, if I have to tell, then I wasn't very happy with how the Kevin Coyne turned up on the eyelid. So instead, you can use any other concealer like Tarte or anything that you like. I'm using a very good palette that I had almost forgotten. It's by Tarte, called the Tartiest Pro, and their eyeshadows are very creamy. Now I have also used other brands like Huda and I've used Huda, and mainly Huda is the one that I find very dry and chalky, especially the rose gold and the other ones. But I haven't used the new ones that Huda has come up with. But those are very dry, and there's a lot of fallout when you use those. But brands like Urban Decay and Tarte, their products are very creamy. So I have used a very light shade, and you must have noticed that I used it on the crease as just a transition color, a very soft color with a very fluffy brush to give it a very diffused look. And I have now changed my brush. I have used a little darker color than what I used previously, and from the inner corner to the highest point to the middle of the eyebrows, I brought it up, and then using a little darker color, a little dark brown, adding a little black to the brown, I'm doing the same, starting from the outer corner of the eyes and joining it in the middle, and you'll see it shortly. And also, if you notice that I have another brush held in my hand, that's because one brush is for the application and the other brush is for the blending purpose. So as you apply, if you have another blending brush handy, then it becomes all the more easier, and not only that, the finish also comes out to be very nice. Otherwise you might have to repeat the process again and again. Not that you don't have to repeat the process here, you will notice that I'm repeating the process. But if you deposit the color first and then you come back and blend, then you will notice that half of the color is almost gone, and then again you have to deposit and blend, deposit and blend. So this process becomes a little time consuming. Hence it's always better if you keep a blending brush handy and you do both the things simultaneously. So you deposit, blend, and not like deposit the whole product and then blend. I hope you're getting what I'm trying to say. So if you notice that the outer corner has little darker shade and the inner corner has a little warmer shade, and I have blended it. Now what I'm doing is I'm using a normal brown gel liner as the base. Well, I was also experimenting this time, so I didn't know how things would turn up, but in the end everything turned up very nice. And this is how I usually work. When I work on anyone, I do not keep anything in mind, but I work as I look into the mirror and I work, and I use my judgment, and this is usually how I work. So I'm using a brown gel liner and used it as the base, and with my fingers using one of the duochrome shadows from the same palette, from the Tartiest Pro, and just gently applying it on the lid. Going back to one of the brushes from Beautylicious, I'm diffusing the mark between the duo eyeshadow and the transition colors, because I do not like any lines or any distinct marks. So I like to diffuse it, I like to blend it. And also I have taken a little bit black on the brush so that it gives some amount of depth, though I didn't need much. At this point I wasn't very sure whether I should keep it like this, because she looked stunning with this kind of a eyeshadow. But I was very tempted to use some glitters as well. Later on, well, both looked nice, but I think I could have also left it like this. This would have also made her look very, very pretty. Something that I want to tell to all of you who are watching, and especially ones who are new, or the ones who look out for artists and hire their artists for their big day. I want to tell you that makeup is not just about eyes. Yes, eyes is very important, but eyes is not the most important aspect in makeup. Makeup means that you have to cover up all the flaws, and flaws just does not mean it's about pigmentation or freckles. Flaws can be anything. It can be an upturned eyes, it can be broad nose, it can be droopy lips, it can be in her case I found her eyes to be little upturned. So I it took me a little time to balance it, to bring it down and not make her look very upturned eyes, and that does not really go with very Indian makeup. So I literally I have spent a lot of time to bring it down. So makeup is about a lot of things, not just the eyes. It's about a beautiful teamwork of the eyes and the face and the skin and the hair, the accessories, the outfits. So everything put together, it comes out very pretty. So here I am using a concealer underneath the eyes. Well, in this case this wasn't needed, but this is a very good tip that I want to pass on to you, is that if you ever want your colors to show up on the lower eyes, then this is a very good way of applying anything creamy underneath, and then dabbing or depositing the color as you like. But here, since I was using black, I really didn't need, but as I said, I wasn't sure what I would do. So initially I thought I would use the same colors underneath, but then I changed my mind, because I had to straighten her eyes as much as I could with the help of my brush and my liner. So therefore I changed my mind, but I didn't want to delete this part because I wanted you to know what goes on in my mind, and I also want you to know that how to straighten things, and how the you know how to apply good colors, and the colors should show off. So I didn't purposely edit this part or delete this part. Using a very thin brush, I am doing the lower eyes, and in a bit you'll see how beautiful she looked. I finished with the wing liner as well. It's a very normal wing liner, nothing special in it. But at this point I really thought that I would keep the metallic eyeshadow, but was very tempted to use some glitters. So after using the glitters, this is how she looked. Well, I was at this point I was really wondering why I did so, because the metallic color was looking just so pretty. But anyhow, I moved on, and in the end she looked glamorous, she looked fabulous, so I was very happy. And I'm just elongating the eyes and some finer fine tuning the eyeliner, so that there is no gap and nothing shows up. Because when you do eyeliners, and if there is any gap in between because of loose skin, it really doesn't look nice. So just ensure whenever you do the eyeliner, there is a straight neat line. So as you can see here, this is how she looked, and now I shall be moving on to the face. I you can see here that she has fairly big size pores. Now that could be a concern, but I will also show you ways how to do it. It's very easy. I'm using a color corrector from Krylon, and with my finger I'm just tapping onto the skin so that it just does not sit on the skin, but it also sits well. And when you're doing under eyes, just go very softly. Because that's a very delicate area, and it really hurts if you go very fast, very quick. At this point I've increased the speed of the video so that it doesn't get too lengthy, but at the same time you can see what I'm doing. And with the whole face, I'm sorry, with my finger I'm using it on the whole face, because I had asked her if she wanted the same skin color, the same complexion color, or she wanted to look fairer. And since she said that she wanted to look fairer, and I didn't want her to look ashy, therefore I'm using a color corrector very carefully on the entire face. Now at this time you really have to be a little careful, because if you go overboard with color corrector, then there's a chance of the skin looking very orangey, which you should be careful about, and you should not go too much. Now here's something that I want to tell all of you, is that whenever you start with the base, always start with the center of the face. As you can see here, that's underneath the eyes and basically center. That's because when you take a product on a brush, and when you deposit or when you touch the skin for the first time, that's the place where the maximum deposition takes place. So never start with the periphery of the face, because then you will get maximum products in the periphery, and that's not something that we are looking at and we do not want, because on the sides of the face we want everything to get diffused. So I'm using a Tarte concealer. This is one of my favorite concealers. Honestly, I there's no other concealer that I like as much as the Tarte concealers. They are liquid and I love these concealers. So if you've not still used Tarte concealer, then you must get hold of one, because thereafter you will not want to use any other concealers. And I'm using my blender, but I want to tell you at this time that I had forgotten to moisten my blender. So I'm using a dry blender. There was a little difficulty using it, but with because I'm used to all kind of tools, so I manage. But I would tell you that never try not to use a dry blender, because it will not absorb the products, the excess product. So get a damp beauty blender and use that as your uh, as your best blending tool, and that a beauty blender is supposed to be your best friend when it comes to makeup. Using Glow Wish by Huda Beauty, I was this is the first time that I'm using it, and I always wanted to use it. But there's something that I want to tell you, and that is, whenever you do contour, this contour that I'm using has a has a warm undertone. But if you are able to use a contour that gives you a cool undertone, I think that looks superb. But at the same time, if you're using a cool undertone contour, be very careful, otherwise it has a tendency to make the face look very muddy, because it's cool, and that is not something very that's not something very desirable, because it doesn't make when it makes the face look very muddy, you wouldn't like it. And this is like a normal highlighter that I'm using, and after every step I like to blend my previous application with a brush or with a beauty blender. So this is what I'm doing. I'm just using a normal fluffy brush that is usually used for eyes to blend, and this is how she looks at this point. I'm using a Krylin face powder instead of Laura Mercier. That's so overhyped, but I think Krylin is a very underrated product, and this is a product that I highly recommend to all the artists. Well, when you're working with Krylin, you just have to be a little light-handed, otherwise it could look flaky, it could look cakey as well. So I'm using Krylin powder, and with a fan brush I'm just dusting it over the skin. This is another technique that I usually do. So at this point, this is how she looks, and I will just finish up with just some finer fine tuning the eyes after a normal eyelash that I have used. I didn't even use a mink eyelash this time. And now I will just move on to the hair. As you can see that she has fairly fine hair, and my idea was to give her very voluminous hair and a nice messy look. So this is how she finally looks. I'm hoping that you've liked and you've enjoyed. Well, in case if you've liked, then please do not forget to like, subscribe, post your comments, let me know, because honestly these are a lot of insights that I have given, and nobody really shares so much in details, but I wanted you all to know and not give up. So this is how she looked in the end. I loved. I'm hoping you loved too.